Hello, thank you for this opportunity to do this toe reading for you. And I'm very excited to read these toes. And remember, the information that I am getting from your toes is coming through my filter. So if there's something that the vocabulary doesn't work for you, or that you hear that it's something different than what I'm interpreting, please, by all means, adjust it for you. You are your own guru. You are the author of your own story. You are your own authority. And pay attention to how it feels. Is it just something that you don't like because sometimes we don't like the truth and that's hard? Or is your intuition telling you, no, that looks this way for me? So just paying attention to what that is. If it's touching you in your heart, but it doesn't feel good, sometimes that is a huge indicator that um, the changes and recommendations that I'm going to give you based on the energy of your toes is worth looking more into and doing some work around. So in toe reading tells us our past and our present. Because toes are very present, they're very grounded. They're in this step or wherever they are. From the past and the present, from the trajectory, we can tell some future things. And mostly what we're going to be focusing on in this reading is past and present. So just a little bit about toe reading. Left foot is the internal, our spirit path, the way that we talk to ourselves, our action. Left foot is internal, and the right foot is external, how we experience the world and how the world experiences us. And so this is never about aesthetics. This is never about comparison. This is simply, we are going to look at the differences between the toes on each foot. That's for contrast, just so that we can see the differences in how we're internally showing up and externally showing up. And this is all about moving the energy so that we can move forward in our lives, in our soul evolution, in the most aligned way. So when we look at your toes, a couple of messages come into mind, and one of them is a groundedness that is needing a little bit more attention, being more grounded in where you are. And by groundedness, there's this moving forward energy that can come from a place of groundedness. When our feet aren't on the ground, so energetically what I'm seeing is like, when you're a kid and you're in a swing set and your feet aren't touching the ground and they're just like moving all over the place, and um and you can pump to move that swing, but you're really not going anywhere. You're just moving forward and backward. Whereas when our feet are present on the ground, that gives us the ability to move forward in this grounded way. Grounding practices, grounding from your root chakra would be very beneficial for you. So grounding from that root chakra at the base of your torso, having those roots move down your legs, into your feet, into your toes, and grounding into the earth mother through the root chakra is going to help you get more grounded, because that is one of the main messages from your toes is, hey, we want to be more grounded. There's this liftingness, this lightness of the feet, and not necessarily in a beneficial way that's showing up in your toes. So grounding, walking outside barefoot as much as you can, putting your feet in a stream of water on the sand, making sure that you're doing some kind of foot to earth connection energy as often as possible. And right now, here in the Northern Hemisphere, it is summer, so it's a great time to do this. Now, when we look at your spirit path and your life path toes, and these toes move all the way back, and we notice that you've got these protrusions on either side of these toes. So, especially in your life path toe. So, we're going to talk about that one first. Your life path toe, it is bent here and then leaning over. This is your channel of leadership, and you are a leader. This toe, you've got these long toes, and if this toe was more aligned, you would have a wide channel of leadership here. And so that's for your toes would be the ideal presentation of the energy, is have this toe tracking more straight, coming out this way, with more of a space here between your second and your first toes. Now, with this protrusion here, This indicates that you've spent a lot of your life bending over backwards to keep the peace, staying quiet, not rocking the boat, um, just in this place where it's really not working for you because you're meant to be a leader, but what you're doing is you are staying in the safe zone, and it's not really safe for you anymore. Staying quiet to keep the peace can feel safe in the moment, and indeed, it can even be safe in the moment. But ongoing patterns of that have you stuck. And so, by inviting this energy to shift and to move in a more straight way, all the way from down here. So, I would hold the toe right down there at that knuckle and then gently push up here. So, holding and then gently inviting the energy to track more straight. I think you'll be surprised at how quickly this energetic change can happen and how that shows up in the outside world. It's really going to be amazing. With your spirit path toe, a lot of the same things. It's just not quite as pronounced. So, um, getting clear on your spirit path. What does your spirit path look like? And the same exercise here, stabilizing at this knuckle and gently inviting it to track more straight. You do have gifts of intuition. This is your channel of intuition right here. So you can see again by having this toe track more straight and more aligned, it's going to open up this channel of intuition. These toes, a lot of this is also generational. You're here to be a generational game changer. When we have these protrusions here, that is one of the messages because it goes way back before your mother was born, before your grandmother was born. It goes back multiple generations. This pattern of people pleasing, staying quiet to keep the peace, not honoring one's own life path and spirit path because survival conformity is a real thing, especially hundreds or thousands of years ago. If you didn't conform, you would get kicked out of the pack, and that meant death. And so there's this operation from that paradigm still going on for all of us. It's just it's in our generations, it's in our DNA. And we're here at this time to change this. So as you're working with these toes, you are releasing generationally and for your children. So I invite you to seriously consider the power and impact that you have in this, especially seeing the potential for this massive intuitive leadership. Your communication toes. These are some of the lightest toes that I see. There is there's a lack of substance to it. What is your communication like? How do you communicate both internally and externally? And really pay attention to your internal dialogue because this toe is really saying, hey, I want to get grounded. I want to be seen. I want to be acknowledged. So give that toe a little bit of physical love by gently massaging up and down the toe, across the bottom, moving into the top, and really getting into those dark corners of your soul. And what are you actually saying to yourself? What are the thoughts? And how are you expressing this? You are such a communicator. You've got these long second toes. Communication is one of your gifts in this lifetime. And you're a much more impactful leader when you are communicating. So be aware what's going on inside and what is it time to release. This toe is ready to release it. And by releasing it, it's going to be allowed to get more grounded. In the outside world, how are you communicating? You can see perhaps you have a very direct way of speaking. You got this flatness, so this blunt way of speaking. And as a woman, that is not always appreciated. And so, what are ways that you can communicate in a way that is true for you, aligned with you, and gets the message across and moves you forward? So considering what that type of communication can look like. And you were born to get to the point, cut to the chase. So this blunt way of communication is a gift. And it's a gift, like all gifts, that requires some stewardship because there are people that will not hear you if you come at them with blunt force. And then there are people that that's the only way that they'll hear you. And so directness and kindness is a beautiful combination. And you definitely have the potential and the gift for that. Now, compare that with this soft circular top that you've got going on here in the way that you communicate with yourself. Really analyze, is the internal dialogue that you carry on with yourself for your highest and best good? Is the internal dialogue you've got going on true? Seek for alignment in that. You might think that it's true. Like, I'm not suggesting that you're lying to yourself, although, like, that's a thing. Um, but it's more of, I'm saying this because it's what was true in the past. It's what I want to be true. It's what I think should be true, but it's actually not true. So when you're thinking, when you're in your head, and when you're speaking, pay attention to what's happening in your body. That's going to indicate to you if it is true. And sometimes we just say things and then we're like, oh, wait, wow, that is no longer true for me. I invite you to think of some examples in your life of when something was true to you at one time and then it became not true. This happens all the time. We love life to be in this nice, neat little box where everything is true forever and for all time and for everyone. And that's just not true. Feel into that one. Action toes. These are a couple of toes that really caught my attention because there is blocked energy. If we look at it in contrast to these communication toes, these action toes, there is blocked energy in these toes. You are absolutely an action taker, especially when it comes to taking action for yourself. So, what actions for yourself are you not taking? What actions are right for you, but you're not taking them? And what actions are you taking that are not aligning with you and that are blocking you? Also, this space here between your action and your words, this is another indicator for that question that I asked you earlier. What things are you saying that maybe you're acting on that are not aligning? Your speech and your action don't always align with each other. So, how can you bring those into greater alignment together? When it comes to the outside world, there's even more blocked energy. And this one is actually leaning into this communication toe. So there is perhaps a dependence on communication and then not taking action to back it up. So an out of balancedness here, and it's showing up differently internally than it is externally. So as you gently rub these toes, asking those questions about action and communication aligning with each other. So, in what ways are you not taking action in the external world? And in fact, it's leaning into your communication. You might be talking about it. You might be writing about it. You might be singing about it. You might be expressing about it, but you're not taking the action on it. And with this foot, how can I bring my actions and my words into greater alignment? It sounds really similar to each other, but there is a difference. The internal and external landscapes are very different. And this might be a place where the duality of the internal world and the external world, the polarity is a better word, might sometimes feel very uncomfortable to you. And so bringing that into a place of reconciliation could be a beautiful meditative practice for you. When it comes to your relationships, relationship with self, relationship with others. Again, also some blocked energy. And one of the things that I love about this is how these toenails are largely pointing forward. So, what relationships are you in that you really can trust? We're starting to bring in the trust and prosperity toes here, where you feel like you can trust, realizing people make mistakes, you make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that people are not worthy of trust. Who are your allies? Who's your team? Those would be great things to get clear on. And by rubbing this toe, you're going to be able to get more clear on it. Some blocked energy here. So again, these three toes are very, very much in alignment with self. In fact, these four toes in alignment with each other and some of the symptoms and energies that are going on there where they're moving around and not in alignment with each other. The messages align that your toes are sharing, but the toes themselves and the energies are not necessarily aligning. Thus, we have some of these larger spaces and a disconnection. So, in what ways can you honor yourself and your relationship with self? Um, Self-care is coming into my mind right now. Where how can you care for yourself? What does self-care look like for you? And especially this callus that you have right here, there is some protection of self, and protection is good, but having lots of heart walls, um, that prohibits you from truly connecting with others and others truly connecting with you. So, as you work on your heart walls and become more and more aware of these heart walls, massaging this toe is really going to help. Let's talk about trust and prosperity. You do actually trust yourself. I'm going to repeat that. You do trust yourself. So the question then becomes when you are questioning yourself, where is that coming from? And based on your toes, I'd propose that that is coming from the outside because someone else has told you in some way that you can't trust yourself, that you have to lean on some kind of authority outside of yourself, that you don't have what it takes, and so you can't trust yourself. But you actually do trust yourself. You have a deep amount of trust for yourself. And as you open up this channel of intuition, that's going to become even more apparent. So, I trust myself would be an excellent mantra for you, especially as you work with this beautiful toe here. I trust myself. You do not trust others. And so, again, finding your relationships where you can trust and then trusting, being vulnerable. Yes, it can hurt, but the lifetime cost of not trusting and missing out on that connection is so much higher than the lifetime cost of the occasional hurt, even deep hurt of trusting. So I want to think of that as scales of balance. Not trusting because you think you're protecting yourself costs way more than trusting and occasionally getting hurt. So both of these toes are really going to help you with your heart walls. Thank you for this opportunity to read your toes, and please let me know what questions you have.